All right. Good evening, everybody. Welcome to our Live with Us call, our weekly training call that we have guest speakers come on and just join us and share their heart and their story and tips and motivation with us. And I am extremely excited to have our sister leg rock star, seriously, Lindy Kitchen. I'm not even sure where you live, Lindy, but I know you're going to kind of share a little bit of your story with us. But Lindy has double promoted in May.
That's right.
And so I have always thought that Ruby Senior Ruby double promotions in 1 month was a huge, huge accomplishment. And so I'm excited to hear kind of what Lindy has done and what has kind of attributed to her success and some tips and motivation that she's going to share tonight about being the CEO of your own business and your own life. But before we kind of jump into Lindy and getting started with that topic, we've got our 5-minute spotlight of our very own Marcy Quinn. And Marcy is a pharmacist, and she now lives in Wilmington. And she's going to share with us what has kind of attributed to her success. And so really quick, I'm going to brag on Marcy. Marcy has over 1,000 PV currently, or over 1,300 PV, excuse me. And she has just rocked it out this month. She's been to events this month. She has had guests and potentials at all those events that she went to, and she signed 2 new ambassadors, and 1 is in progress right now. We've done several Zoom calls with potentials this month, and I am just very, very proud of Marcy. And so if you want to kind of share with us, Marcy, what you feel like you've done, what happened, how have you blown up this month?
I think what happened was it started when I could not go to convention. I have a special needs child and could not leave her at home. So I had to afford 3 tickets, everything that came along with all that. And I could not go, could not afford it because I cannot leave her at home. I cannot be away with her, away from her. So I think that broke my heart. It really hurt me because I told Liz, I said, I knew that convention would be a great learning experience and what I needed to grow myself and the team that I want to have. So I think, I'd heard many times with all the calls about drawing your line in the sand. Well, that was my time. I drew it and I told my husband, because I think I had just had my foot in, 1 foot in and 1 foot out because I'm a busy pharmacist. I'm a pharmacy manager, Walgreens, and, autistic child. I have a mother that I take care of. I mean, just the list goes on. But I said, this is it. And I think it started when we heard a call that said, whenever you get discouraged or you don't want to do that one call or you don't want to do anything, put your why in front of your face. And my child is my why. And so it makes me teary when I think about it. And so I told my husband, I said, this is it. This is what I want to do. You can either support me or not support me. I said, but I'm doing this for my family. I'm doing it for you. I'm doing it for Emma. And I drew my line and I said, I'm going to do it up. And I told him, I said, I got to go to events. I've got to do things. And if I'm not out and about, I'm not going to grow because I don't know a lot of people in Wilmington.
Yeah.
And the great thing about it is God has just opened many doors. And I think by saying to myself, I'm all in. And every time I get discouraged or every time I feel like I'm going to be lazy and not want to do anything, I put Emma.
Yeah.
I see her face. And I think that's where you have to get to. You have to get to your point, your mindset of how you want to grow. Whether it's, you want to grow a business or you want to just get healthier, which I do. I'm doing both. But I really wanted to grow my team. I really want to grow as a Plexus ambassador, and it has become my number 1 goal. Aside from getting healthy and growing my income. And I said, I'm not going to be sitting behind again. I'm going to Leaders Retreat. And I think what started is going to the 2 events. I've been messaging everybody, messaging. And I think the next thing that did it to me was I've met a great group of people here that do events in Wilmington, and I've now started doing events in other cities in towns with them. And so I think that's important by networking, getting out there and learning people. And that's how has helped me, because now I've got an event almost every month, a community event. And I said, that's the only way I'm going to grow is if I get out there and, and do a sip and see. I want a couple. You have to be organized. You have to get stuff. I mean, I just said, you know what, I'm going. I drove an hour and a half to go, 3 hours round trip. I told my husband, I said, I'm going to be gone right now for a little while, but, it's all going to be better, because I told my daughter, I said, you keep thinking when you miss me right now, but just think, if I can do this, then you don't have to have after school. I can be home. Or you don't have to go to camp during the summer. I can be home. So now they're all in that mind frame. Okay, if mama does this, then she'll, we're working toward being home. And I think that's just what did it. I drew my line and I said, this is it. I'm all in it to win it. And it's so important to get that mindset and to get it in your mind. Like you said, draw it out. And that's what I have, my little plan of how much I need to get the leaders retreat. And I'm working on it,
That's great. That's great.
And I think that's the key thing to do,
Yeah, I agree. And Marcy, I appreciate you sharing that with us. And I thank you for sharing that, because I think it's important for us to remember to draw our line in the sand and to get to events and to make those things a priority, because, you hear it all the time that you sacrifice a little bit now so that you can have what you want and everything that you want later on, kind of thing. And so I've seen that in you, Marcy. I've seen you just be fearless in your pursuit of your goals. And like you said, remembering your why right in front of you. So thank you for sharing that. Continue to just rock it out. And we're all proud of you, super proud of you. And we're thankful to have you as our pharmacist on our team that can give us that product knowledge when we need it. So,
well, I enjoy it. Thank you so much.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. And so Lindy, we'll just kind of trickle into your story too.
Absolutely. I mean, Marcy, we couldn't have been paired up on a better call, because everything I'm getting ready to talk about, you are like the perfect shining star example of sort of an overview of this awesome mindset book. And I'm going to send a copy to Liz for y'all to kind of, have another book to read and understand a little bit about how I started on my journey, but really some of the motivating factors and just some of my background. Like you're professionally a pharmacist, I'm a professional therapist. I mean, I have a private practice in Greenville. I treat addiction disorders, mental health. And can you guys still see me? Are we good?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, okay. And so my background is in cognitive behavioral therapy. And so I'm working with all different kinds of people, love people, know about human behavior, and mindset is something that I definitely have been trained in, and mindfulness. And so I started my Plexus business really last summer around this time. I signed up in March, and my husband was very sick and had a lot of issues. And Marcy, I have a special needs daughter. My youngest daughter is on the spectrum. And so it's been quite a journey, and a lot of my knowledge and understanding about dietary supplements has come from my research and my line in the sand that I was going to help that kid and she was going to have the life I wanted to have. And so I support you, and we're going to have to link up on a group message and sort of be a support system on sister teams, because I know where you're coming from with that kind of why. So I can't thank Liz enough. I love opportunities like this to engage with other teams and practice my skills as a leader in teaching people. But, when I started working my Plexus business, I certainly drew my line in the sand. And I knew from the get-go that these products were the real deal, because I was seeing it for myself, my family. I switched my daughter to Plexus products because we had been using probiotics for years, guys. And I knew everything about every one of them. And we have the best that you can find on the market. And so, but the business was a little bit of a different story. I was sort of ingrained in that fixed cultural mindset that, I had gone to graduate school, higher education, I had a career. Why would I want to entertain adding something else to my plate? As a busy mom of 3, my husband runs a large farming operation. How is I going to even entertain doing this? And so sat down with my husband one night. We were really talking about this business. And, he basically just said, this is a no-brainer. I mean, this is $34.95 for a year to start a business with products we love, to share them with people, to see the results we've had. He said, you just need to go for it. He said, what's stopping you? He said, you went back to graduate school when we had one kid, and then we had another one while you were in kid. He said, you got to get in that mindset like you did when you went to graduate school, when you decided that you were going to build that professional career and just do this business. And I was like, what is wrong with me? I was like, that's not my norm to sort of be in that locked in, fixed mindset and giving myself a million reasons why I can't do something, because there's so many things in my life that I've, adopted a growth mindset in doing. And so that was something personally that I really had to struggle with, and that I had to work on, from moving myself from a fixed mindset into opening my eyes, learning from leaders, understanding what network marketing was. And when I crossed that line in the sand and adopted a growth mindset, I went gold in a month. And I'm going to be honest, I had to really dig in, even as a therapist who, does personal development every day with patients. I had to dig in and start to work on myself first. And this was a really crucial book that I enjoyed. I have a couple of mindset books that I've read along the way in just my clinical training. This is one of the newer ones that's really hit home with me that I wanted to share a little bit tonight, because one of the key things about adopting a growth mindset is to examine where you are today. And 99% of us, when it comes to this business, how many times we go to convention, we're hearing a team call, and we hear someone say, I wanted nothing to do with this business. Love the products, Celeste Gwynn herself, but no to network marketing, no to direct sales. Why is that? And it comes from what we call this fixed mindset. And I want everybody to sort of do an exercise. I'm going to read you this little sentence. It says in this book, it's going to teach you that it's not just about our abilities and our talents that bring us success, but whether we approach our goals with a fixed or a growth mindset. How many times have you grown up and compared yourself, your IQ, your intelligence, your grades, your athletic abilities to someone else? We all have to live in a world with people, and comparison is the thief of joy, and we're all guilty of it. And we develop very fixed values of what we're good at, what our strengths are. And what I have found in developing as a leader and working as a therapist is that most people have a fixed mindset on what they're good at, what they're not good at. And we all have a fear of failure. We just do. And we all fear messing up or not doing the right thing. And so we choose and we make conscious choices to do things that we feel like we've got a good chance of being successful in. And so that is why most people in this business really struggle to get up and running and going and sort of delay this opportunity and starting it, is because they are in this fixed mindset and something's telling them that, oh, well, I'm not like a Leslie Weaver or a Janie, or I don't have public speaking skills. I have people that tell me on my team all the time, I'll never learn the products and ingredients like you have. I'll never be able to present about them because that's sort of my strength. And I say, absolutely you can. We are all able to work this business and be successful. Our success depends on this mindset. Everyone has a strength. We all have weaknesses. And when we can move from fixed to growth, and what we mean by growth is exactly what Marcy was talking about. And so what I had to do to move myself from gold into the senior gold and then double promoted senior ruby, in December of this year, this past year, 2015, when I started going into the first of the year, and I said, I'm still sitting at gold. Why is this? What am I doing wrong? And I realized that I was still stuck in that fixed mindset that, I couldn't be like my sponsor, Michelle, who were in Emerald in 4 months, that, she had already tapped out our warm network, and that it wasn't going to be possible for me because all of my friends were her level ones. I had tons of things that were just keeping me entrapped in a fixed mindset. And when I started to read these books about the psychology of success and what successful people really look like, and, tapped into what I've learned being a therapist just about people, it's not about your IQ or your intelligence or your talents and abilities. It truly success in life from a spiritual, from an emotional standpoint. We are all human beings that are meant to grow and change and develop throughout the lifespan. The only thing that really stops is physical growth. And unfortunately, most of us grow out instead of up when we stop growing from a physical standpoint. And people that struggle with success, that struggle with meeting their goals in life or having, some of what they want and most of what they need, it's because they're stuck in this fixed mindset that they're not allowing themselves the opportunity to grow. And so I want to encourage everyone on the Zoom call tonight to allow yourself to validate that it is okay and necessary. And human beings are meant to grow, and they're meant to fail, because part of that growth is the failure. And especially in this business, we're never going to present the products the exact same way to every person. We're never going to have it the exact same way and have it right for every single person. And when we accept that we're going to fail and that every failure can turn us into our successful network marketing business, entrepreneur, CEO of our life, which is what this call is all about, then we can be successful. And so what I had to do, even as someone who helps people grow every day, I had to do a lot of what Marcy was just talking about with her story. I had to dig in. I had to say, okay, if you got yourself through grad school, worked full time, had 2 kids, Plexus is nothing. You can do this. This is about people. It's about building relationships, and it is about being open to growth and examining when you get stuck. It is often because our limbic system is powerful, the memory of our brain, and we get stuck in the old thoughts and oftentimes expectations that other people have set on us throughout our lifespan that have limited us or crippled us because of being in a negative thought process. And we've not even tapped into what this book called Fulfilling Our Own Potential. And so we all have potential in this business, and we just have to be willing to be focused. And I'm talking laser focus, and I think Marcy will back me up. It does take laser focus to be in a growth mindset, because every negative, every failure has to be immediately channeled into a positive. What did I learn? How can I grow? And how can I move forward? And the next step that I want to talk to you about, how I sort of made it to double promote, is I have over 70 level ones. I have more than Leslie Weaver herself when she did my training call Monday night. I was like, wow, I have 70 level ones. I think she said she had like 40 something. It doesn't matter how many level ones you have. What matters is that you become a leader in a growth mindset. And as a leader, you can identify people on your team that have the potential to move from a fixed mindset to a growth mindset. And that doesn't take any special skill or talent. All it takes is investing in your team, listening, engaging, having a relationship. And oftentimes the people that tell me no the most on my team that they can't work the business, I love a challenge. And I really work with them on examining their mindset. And one particular exercise or sort of role play I want you to take from this call that I do with some of my team members that are really struggling with self-esteem and questioning their ability to do this business is, I actually do this with patients in my therapy office, is take 1 or 2 of the most difficult situations in your life. Think about something that's caused you tremendous pain, stress, grief, whatever, but it is imprinted in your memory and your limbic system as a failure, a time you were not successful. And I want you to think about that. And I want you to think about and really identify what it took to get out of that sort of funk or that negative state is what we kind of call it. And if you go back and think about some of those situations in your life, you will see, and you will see in your team members, that everyone is capable and has that ability of pulling themselves up by their bootstraps and getting out of that fixed mindset that they can't do something and moving into, I can. I just have to put the effort and the willingness to grow and learn and accept when I've made mistakes and done something wrong. And so I really, really like this book that I'm holding up. I encourage everyone to read it because it has great examples about parenting, business, helping your kids with bullying through school, relationships. And I think in order to be successful in Plexus, we have to sometimes take a step back, really learn about human behavior, engage with our team, not enable our team, because we all know that we can get into trouble and we can sink very quickly, and not grow teams by enabling. Because our job when we get to the senior gold and senior ruby and ruby level, where Liz and I are, it is to not only continue to develop our leadership skills, but to really invest and develop that team. And I think it's so crucial today, start identifying, engaging one-on-one with every level one, as many levels as you can, and identify the people that are struggling in that fixed mindset. Because I guarantee you, if you coach them and help them understand that all it takes to be successful is to move into a growth mindset, they can be your biggest rock star. I've had some people in the last few months that have been on my team a year since the beginning, and I thought they would do absolutely nothing with it. And when I started investing in them and educating them and helping them fulfill their own potential, then they have become successful and hit silver and are getting very close to gold. And so that's just really exciting. It'll motivate you, it'll motivate them. And the mindset that Marcy and I have sort of talked about tonight is really the key. And so do that exercise. It's very helpful. That's what I'm talking about with my example of when I had to draw my line in the sand and say, if you can build that professional career and make those sacrifices for 3 years to get a master's degree, you can invest the next 2 to 3 years into building up to a diamond team in this company. And so with that growth mindset, I'm open to my sponsor and my upline. I've watched every video and training. A lot of people say, well, you probably didn't need to train yourself because you know so much about human behavior and you work with people. Not the case. I had to work on the personal development because being a therapist, I'm exhausted. I had to really sit down and ask myself when I was ready to push past gold in promoting this company, if I had it in me to see 8 to 10 patients a day in my practice and turn around and give that same support to my team, and that was growing, but it wasn't growing rapidly. And when I made up my mind that I was going to sacrifice and do my best to keep balance in my personal life and invest in the SIPNCs and the training and making videos and building up my skills to be a leader, I have grown so much, and I'm amazed at even how much more of a growth mindset that I have developed in deciding to fulfill my potential as a Plexus ambassador. So I know that, how's our time, Liz? Are we running over? We good?
We're good.
Okay. So, a couple of more points. If you have people that really struggle with understanding the business, that's always the first key. And so some of the tips that I have helped my team sort of work through, and, okay, I love the products now. I've been on them 3 months. They're awesome. Working for me, working for my family, lots of my friends, but I'm really scared to talk about the business. A lot of people really are so scared to share this business. What do I say? I don't want to rub people the wrong way. Okay, let's face it. No one's going to be rubbed the wrong way when you are trying to teach them a really awesome way about how to produce income. Because number one, we are all working to provide for our basic needs, okay? And our basic needs are survival, are food, water, shelter, clothing, and we also have a need as human beings for human relationships, okay? And so I want you to think about that, and I want you to look up Maslow's hierarchy of needs. It's very important to understand that as a human being because it is what drives human behavior. When people do not have food or water, they are going to seek it out. If they are able to provide for that need, then other things become more important in that priority list. But one of the most important things that we crave as human beings is people and relationships. We are not created by God to be isolated and alone. That's why we have his unconditional love through Jesus Christ in order to help us when we feel like no one's there for us. Okay.
Yeah.
And when you can help your team start to tap into their own potential and moving into that growth mindset, you can work with them on tapping into that growth mindset for all of those areas in their life. You know, really dig down deep and say, you know, we all have needs. We all have wants. We all have things that we want to do for other people that sometimes finances put a restraint on. So don't paint the pretty picture of you're going to be a diamond in a Lexus in, 6 months or a year with little or no effort. That gives people false hope. Create a realistic hope of how people can work on themselves and fulfilling those needs that we all have for survival, and that the compensation plan and the way that our company Plexus partners with their ambassadors, and we have such a low risk investment that they make this attainable for anyone who's ready to grow and dig in and draw that line in the sand and share these products. They said a lot at convention. They have the message already ready for us through Plexus, through these wonderful products they've created. We just have to be the messenger. So really coach people that there's a financial opportunity for them if they will allow themselves to grow and understand and learn our message of health and wellness, and that they can be compensated for that, and that there's nothing wrong or shameful about that, that's a positive thing that will help them meet the basic needs of survival. And when Plexus blesses them beyond the basic needs being met, then they're going to be able to give back. And giving back is one of the most rewarding things that we all experience as human beings. And there were so many stories at convention and all over Facebook with our team pages. And you will be surprised that when you teach people about moving from fixed mindset to a growth mindset, work with them on not only growth in Plexus, but growth in their social, their spiritual, their physical, their cognitive growth, and everything about their human psyche. Because, sorry, my daughter's screaming at me, because that is how they're going to maximize their own potential. Okay. And so if you want to build a team, you want to keep moving up in this company, you got to build those relationships and keep boundaries. You can't let people, run your life and suck you dry, but you've got to keep pushing forward and help people reach their potential in more areas than just Plexus. Okay. So that's really, Liz, what I wanted to share. I really practiced and really worked hard on this to kind of keep it simple, concise, and keep our time limits and constraints. But that's how I've had to move from just teaching people from silver and gold and what pay points are and all the details, and gives them a deeper root to start this business with. It's really where I have found my success and led people that, one of my best friends, Nikita, my team member that's on the call tonight, her sponsor, Elizabeth Sumner, she was absolutely like dead set against the business. And we see each other like every weekend at soccer games. And I never gave up on her because she's just the most kind and dear person, cares about people. And I had to tap into helping her grow in all of those areas before she messaged me one day and said, I've lost 50 pounds, but beyond that, I'm ready to share these products and grow like I've seen you grow just in the short time that we've known each other. And so that was the biggest blessing, to help support someone like that get to gold. And now we're working on her senior gold. So when you take it to that next level and get deep and really dig in and help people meet potential in those areas, and especially in a spiritual standpoint, you are going to explode as a team and never look back like all the people we've been watching on Facebook. Okay?
Absolutely. I love it. I love the tips and thoughts that you've shared tonight. And I think some of it might be basic, but a lot of it was really, really deep stuff that you shared. because it is so much deeper than plexus. And I love that you just kind of reiterated some things I've talked about before, some I haven't. And I just thoroughly appreciate you taking time to.
And every person, even as a leader, even though you're a certain rank in the company, we have to keep examining whether we're in a fixed mindset and we're fixated on that next promotion, or whether we're still tapped into what's our next potential in growth and learning that's going to take our team to that next level. Because I think sometimes we can get tapped out and feel like we've done all the learning and growing that we can do. And as human beings, we never, ever stop doing that. If we do, we get very stagnant. And honestly, that's where I see a lot of people come to my office with situational depression and anxiety. And it's because they've not channeled into the present. They're fixated on the past or the future, and they're not in that here and now, like Marcy and I have been talking about. Just what can I do in the next 20 minutes? Who can I message back? I got kids to pick up and I've got dishes to wash and all these things, but breaking it down into little increments, making it manageable, and knowing that you're having that deeper purpose is going to grow you and keep you in a growth mindset. And always be mindful of when you feel yourself sinking back into that fixed mindset, because this book talks about some of the smartest people with the highest intelligence will be successful, but they will not be able to maintain success, okay? Because once they fail and they fall off their pedestal, they're done, right? And we got to pick ourselves up when we fall off our pedestal and keep going. So I hope that was helpful. Got a kid screaming in the background. So.
Yes, no, very, very helpful. And again, I appreciate you taking time out of your evening tonight to share with us, Lindy. And thank y'all, everybody that got on. Hope y'all gained some really good insight from the call. And look forward to having y'all on next week. Thank y'all.
Thank you, Liz. I really appreciate it.
Absolutely.